Coming up on this edition of Wavelength, the LCRA board makes a tough decision to close down the Cummings Creek mining project. New aluminum rail cars help LCRA keep rolling up savings on fuel cost. And there are 5,000 new reasons why fishing on Lake LBJ will be getting better.
From the Lower Colorado River Authority, this is Wavelength.
Hi everybody, and welcome to this edition of Wavelength. Our top story this month, the decision by our board to shut down the Cummings Creek project. It was not an easy decision, especially with $227 million already invested in the project. The Cummings Creek purchase in the late 1970s has paid dividends by giving LCRA leverage to bargain for lower fuel and fuel transportation cost. But as General Manager David Freeman told the board, all things considered, it is not a good fuel choice for Fayette 3, producing less heat, more ash, more pollution, more wear and tear, and thus more expense than any other fuel option.
And perhaps most troublesome of all is the very real possibility that a decision to open the Cummings Creek mine will meet with the disapproval of the Texas Public Utility Commission and could also result in long, expensive disputes before the Texas Railroad Commission, the Texas Water Commission, or the Environmental Protection Agency, each of which has the authority to deny LCRA necessary permits or favorable rulings.
Freeman acknowledged the transportation cost advantage of Cummings Creek, and he addressed the major point made by those who wanted the mine opened.
And it is true that the Cummings Creek mine would create additional employment in Fayette County, and the project payroll would boost the local economy. However, over $10 million a year of this boost would be at the expense of the rest of the LCRA service area. In my view, over time, LCRA's devotion to low-cost electricity will create far more than the 250 jobs which the Cummings Creek mine would bring to Fayette and surrounding counties.
In my opinion, we made the right decision on the Cummings Creek investment, and I can tell you that was a very, very difficult decision. You know, it's easy to say, well, you know, we may have gotten in a bad deal, so we'll just walk in and cancel it. I can assure you, when you make an investment of that size and that magnitude, making any decision with respect to that investment is very difficult. In my opinion, the board did the right thing there, and it took some guts, frankly.
The LCRA board held its November meeting here in Kerrville and approved a $6.1 million refund for wholesale electric customers due to fuel cost savings. The refund, which must be approved by the Public Utility Commission, is due primarily to savings on the rail transportation cost of coal to Fayette 3.
These are the 14 LCRA line distribution employees and some 75 tons of equipment that went to the Virgin Islands in early November. They are there to help rebuild the electrical system which was destroyed by Hurricane Hugo. The trip was made in these huge Air Force C-5As, and crews have been working roughly 12-hour days replacing thousands of miles of downed power lines. All of the expenses, even the salaries of the LCRA crew during the 45 days they're expected to be there, are being paid by the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority.
Some of the world's leading experts in water were in Austin recently to share information about lake and river management techniques. Everything from non-point source pollution to the growing of aquatic plants was discussed at this year's three-day conference sponsored by the North American Lake Management Society. Nearly 500 professionals in water management from all over the U.S. and 13 foreign countries listened to presentations and took a look at the latest products in the water management industry. LCRA was a co-sponsor of the conference this year, and conference chairman Chuck Dvorsky talked about the importance of the information exchanged.
The information that we're sharing here is not just research. What we're doing here is we're talking about application, how to actually go out and manage a reservoir or a lake to keep the water clean to begin with.
This is the Inks Dam National Fish Hatchery near Burnett. When the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service recently planned to expand the facility, they approached LCRA about leasing some land adjacent to the hatchery. An agreement was worked out between the agencies, but instead of cash, the lease will be paid in fish.
Rather than a cash lease payment like you'd normally do with a land lease, we worked out an arrangement where we're going to be stocking fish for the next 50 years. And this is the first of those releases. And by our calculations, if the right percentage of these fish don't get caught the first week, they'll grow a lot faster each year than that money would draw interest in a bank. So we think we're both way ahead on this deal.
Great.
About 2,500 pounds of 10 to 12-inch catfish were released into Lake LBJ at Lyons Park near Kingsland. According to Probasco, a different LCRA lake will be stocked each year.
A large percentage of the cost of generating electricity is determined by the price of fuel. And as coal and natural gas prices go up, so do LCRA's electric rates. So in an effort to keep the cost of natural gas as low as possible, LCRA has begun an aggressive program aimed at securing its own gas supply. There are currently 5 wells in production on the grounds of the Fayette Power Project, and another 3 are being drilled. LCRA already has 22 other wells located throughout Texas and Louisiana, and is currently producing natural gas at about 20% below the market price. Over the next 3 years, the agency will spend some $60 million on oil and gas exploration, an investment that project manager Ron Chapman says will pay off in the long run.
Our idea is to acquire ownership of reserves in the ground for reliability of supply and at a fixed cost, so that if and when the market does go up, we have fixed cost gas at significantly less than market level cost to pass through and hold our fixed fuel factor down.
Chapman says that when production is in full gear, that the wells will produce 1/2 of all the natural gas needed to run the T.C. Ferguson and Sim Gideon plants.
Since this demonstration home was built by these high school students in Gonzales, the Good Sense program has come a long way. This home in Green, which is served by New Braunfels Utilities, is the 100th Good Sense home built in the LCRA service area. These homes are specially constructed to use at least 30% less energy for heating and cooling than a conventional home of the same size. Sue Wiley and her husband Bill moved into their new Good Sense home in October, and she says they are very happy with it.
And being a realtor, I know that that's a real good selling point on a home. It's a good resale point on a home when someone knows that they can buy a home that's going to help them save money.
Tom Knutson, who directs LCRA's Good Sense program, says he hopes that in the next year, 20% of the new homes built in the service area will be Good Sense homes.
On this month's profile, we go to LaGrange, where Richard Gaylord shows us the latest step being taken by LCRA to save on fuel costs.
Coal. It is the lifeblood of the electrical generation process here at the Fayette Power Project. This huge pile represents about a 60-day supply for the 3 generating units. This coal makes the long journey to LaGrange, Texas from the Powder River Basin in Wyoming by train. This is one of 2 brand new aluminum coal trains which LCRA has recently put into service. Since these cars weigh less than the steel cars, they can carry more coal, about 8 tons more per car. This can translate into significant savings for LCRA in transportation costs. Because of the increased capacity, lower freight rates can be charged by the railroads, and fewer train loads are needed per year.
The performance of the aluminum train so far has been real good, and the cost savings that we're getting are very significant. In the future, whenever trains are purchased for 1 and 2 for damage, derailment replacements or whatever, we'll take a strong look at utilizing aluminum trains to replace the steel equipment we have.
It takes a bit over 4 hours to unload the 115 cars which make up the train, and it makes the round trip to Montana and back about every 7 days. These cars will eventually pass through another LCRA facility just up the tracks. This is the Rail Car Maintenance Facility in Smithville.
We try to bring the cars in every 350 to 400,000 miles for a what we call a reconditioning, and this is a preventative maintenance cycle that not only do we do to the aluminum cars, we'll do to the steel cars.
Since approximately 75% of the fuel costs for FPP are related directly to transportation, innovations such as these aluminum rail cars will help LCRA keep its wholesale electric rates among the lowest in the state.
That's this edition of Wavelength. Thanks for watching. From all of us in Public Information, have a happy holiday, and we'll see you next time.